questioning. That's Midlands Today. We'll be back at the normal time and normal length tomorrow. Good night.
Request something, I'll play it for you.
What about help?
The only thing we have to do is find a way of getting that lot away from the television.
Are you a doctor or an engineer?
I'm a patient. But don't worry, we're heavily tranquilised and pose no danger to the public.
Is Gardener's World on yet?
He's not causing trouble, is he?
Leave it, Stuart. It's all over.
We want Gardener's World.
This is the premiere, this is the first, and you can tell everyone that you were there, you heard it, you saw it, and they'll tell you it's all part of your illness.
Taking Over the Asylum, a new drama for BBC Two, starts Tuesday, 27th September at 9:30.
Now on BBC One, it's time for another adventure in space and time with Peter Capaldi and the Police Box.
Quarantine session! What do you mean, oi, Mr. Quarantine session!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brew yourselves a poorly made cup of tea and settle in to watch 10 months of Peter Capaldi raising an eyebrow at some of the arguments on display tonight. Welcome to the Police Box Live. We've reached the grand finale-ish of our trial of Series 10 of Doctor Who, with World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls going before the court tonight. In this epic two-part finale to the series, the Doctor, Missy, Bill and Nardo find themselves aboard a spaceship with its engines in a state of reversal, struggling to escape from the clutches of a black hole. If that wasn't worrying enough, Bill discovers the hospital deck on the craft is being used as a conversion facility by the Cybermen, with wards full of pre-conversion subjects, each held in a stasis of excruciating pain, the last vestiges of who they once were, housed in all-over, loose-fitting cloth outfits. Talking of which, I'm joined as ever tonight by two men who themselves are no strangers to leaving faint traces of their DNA inside a saggy old sock. It's Cameron Phillips and David Cummings.
The setups are getting longer for worse, lower quality punchlines, to be honest.
There's a certain kind of discrepancy going on now.
You know when some of the money's run out at the end of the series, it's sort of a bit like that.
We haven't had anything in the Patreon fund.
I joined up with an overdraft. I don't understand how that happened.
I'll redress the balance next series. I'll keep it short and insulting. How about that? Well,
that's probably better. Yeah, okay. I look forward to it.
One for the pot for next time. Welcome everybody to the Police Box Live. As I said, it's the penultimate episode of this trial of Series 10 of Doctor Who. World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls going before the courtroom tonight. Really eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that we're joined tonight by two members of the Trap One podcast who, in a recent pub crawl in London, took part in a mass reenactment of Nicholas Courtney's Inferno eye patch anecdote. Now, we're not saying the experience has had a lasting impact on them, but they've since renounced Doctor Who in all of its forms and now spend alternating weekends either cosplaying at Captain Pugwash conventions or performing as their new Gabrielle tribute act. There's a reference for the teenagers. They are, of course, the one and only Pete Lambert and making her Police Box debut, the one and only Hannah Cooper.
What have I got in for?
Yeah.
Funny enough, our guests always ask that question. How are you both?
All right. I've ended up here by default. Do you want to prosecute Pete?
Well, and I ended up. How did the conversation get? Somehow the conversation was like, if there was one Moffat story that I was going to that I would defend, and like, yeah, this is the one, the only.
How are you feeling about that decision right now, Pete?
I'm sticking to my guns.
Pete is very much from the Joe Ford stable of Moffat love.
That sounds so wrong.
That's a big finished box set.
The stable of Moffat love.
How long have you spent locked in that stable?
The horse has bolted.
Not just the horse. On that note, before we get into things properly tonight, we regret to inform you that once again, the Polis Box curse has struck. Now, here on the Polis Box, we are not ones to labour a joke, but as sure as eggs is eggs, former MP and Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott has left us at the age of 86. We'll not be making any further jokes at this point because we can't fully rule out the possibility of him briefly coming back to life in order to track us down and batter us.
Oh boy.
Preza has gone. Well, I've just realised that this video makes it look as if he's played Doctor Who.
That would have been something.
For a long time.
The Preza era under John Nathan Turner. Well, remember.
Can you imagine that? Just walking up to Davros and just absolutely decking him.
Oh, my pants. Come here, you three-eyed brick.
The random interesting fact that I found out today, because I was in a room full of former MPs this afternoon, he was actually a teetotaler. He didn't drink.
Did he not?
He stopped drinking in like the 70s. But they always wanted to portray him as a hard drinker, which is why every time they were doing a photo shoot with him, they try and get alcohol in the picture. So there was a guy I was speaking to today, an ex-MP, whose job for a few years was to go around sanitising the pictures, like moving the alcohol out of the way so that there weren't pictures to drink. So he didn't actually drink. I think it was like 1970 something he gave up.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, you would not have thought that at all.
I randomly found that out from someone today.
There you go.
Spookily enough.
You don't get information like this in the official Doctor Who podcast, do you?
No. You don't get that on Radio Free Scaro.
So Prez has left us. Right, in a tradition that my vocal cords are now living to regret, let's recap, as we do in each episode, the series results so far. I'll be so glad next season was like 4 of the damn things.
Maybe. We've not decided.
Maybe. We've not decided yet.
4. Have I lifted the curtain a little bit too much there?
Oh, that was a little bit of ankle showing there. Jesus. Calm down.
A Hartnell season.
We don't know. Who knows? Mysteries.
Through every telly snap from season 3.
Yeah.
No, we are not sitting through every
one by one.
If we're doing telly snaps for the entire season, I'm walking away now. Because no way.
Well, you'd be there, but then you'd be halfway out the room, and then you'd be gone. We wouldn't actually know that you were walking in.
Exactly, yeah. Just the sound of angry shuffling feet.
Cam storms off and slams the door behind him.
Yes, that's it.
Well, before one of our regular trio flinches off forever, let's have a look at the series results so far for this series. The return of Dr. Mysterio was first. That was found not guilty on judges' decision after a 50-50 public vote. The pilot was next up. That was found not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who by 75% to 25%. Smile was our first guilty of this series. That was found guilty by 62 to 38%. Finesse swung the pendulum way down the other end with an 89% to 11% not guilty verdict. Knock Knock not guilty by 72% to 28%. Oxygen was similarly not guilty, 69% to 31%. Then the big 3-parter, the Super Saturday Extremis, was not guilty, 60% to 40%. Pyramid at the End of the World was found guilty by 67% to 33%. And Lie the Land was also found guilty, 74% to 26%. Empress Mars was next up in the courtroom. That was found not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who by 69% to 31%. And last time round, in an episode of Song, Mark Fake Dave Donaldson joined us for the trial of the Eaters of Light. That was found not guilty by 65% to 35%, all of which means that Cameron is leading the series 8-3 with 2 trials remaining and is series champion.
And now I say we take that off the screen and have a quiz. See who can remember any of those scores.
I can. I've got them underneath front of me.
Yeah.
Yep.
8-3. You've still got a chance to go into double figures before the series out, Cam, so you've got something to play for you.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's a few people on the old social media that were decrying this episode, enough to make me kind of go, oh, okay. So yeah, we'll see.
I thought it was universally loved, but apparently not.
Yeah.
So did I. But yeah. There's a few cracks in the slab.
Let's find out the depth of those cracks, and that's not an invitation for a John Barrowman joke. Let's go back for the penultimate time. 2017, the rock and roll years. Can Dave and Hannah blow a hole right in the middle of the defence's arguments, or will Cam and Pete hit people at more pain on the prosecution? Let's find out as we put World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls on trial. World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls were written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Rachel Talalay, produced by Peter Bennett with music by Murray Gold. They starred Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, Pearl Mackie as Bill and Matt Lucas as Nardole, with Michelle Gomez as Missy, John Sim as the Master, Oliver Lansley as George, Paul Brightwell as the Surgeon, Alison Lintott as the Nurse, Nicholas Briggs as the voice of the Cybermen, Samantha Spiro as Hazran, Brianna Shan as Alit, Rosie Boer as Gazron, Simon Coombs as Rexhill, Stephanie Hyam as Heller, and introduced David Bradley as the First Doctor. They were broadcast on Saturday the 24th of June and Saturday the 1st of July 2017, and the viewing figures were 5 million for World Enough in Time, and that rose to 5.3 million for The Doctor Falls. Those are the cold, hard facts of the episode itself. Without any further ado, shall we call this court to session?
Probably.
That's the format.
Anyway. Yeah.
Probably should, yeah. Let's just do it then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
This court is now in session. Order in the court now. Can't nobody smoke.
The trial of World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls is now underway. Here's who's doing what tonight. Dave and Hannah are going to be prosecuting World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls. Pete and Cam are going to be defending it. So that's your lineup. Without any further ado, let's get right into this.
This is the law, Chapter 1.
Once again, we've thrown open the courtroom doors and invited you, the viewers, to take to the witness stand to give us your thoughts on the stories we are covering tonight. Shall we start with a ghost Corey for Christmas? Because here he is. Guilty, only in it is so good it makes most other Doctor Who look bad by comparison. Is There you go.
We're
Ticking a
only
box for
talking
a
about this episode, so you can't make comparisons. It's just this episode.
Succulent Chinese meal. That's what it immediately makes me think of. But then I think of that a lot.
And if you were watching last week, the whole kind of only talking about this story did kind of get flung out the window, but we're going to reintroduce it now. I think that was a one-off.
Oh, the judge changing his mind again.
Oh, here we go.
To suit himself.
Comments have got to be
Christ.
relevant.
Yeah, it's my courtroom, man.
We'll be introducing VAR next.
Guilty by a fingernail. Next up, viewer evidence. We've got a newbie. It's Amy. Welcome aboard, Amy. Amy says,
Hello, Amy.
Hello. She says, it's not guilty. It's one of the best finales of the show. It's heartbreaking, devastating, and intense. The well done off in time cliffhanger with Bill is jaw-dropping. The Doctor Falls battle sequence is epic. It is a perfect ending for the Master, and it's a brilliant ending for Mrs. Ark at the least.
Yes. Exactly. Good.
No.
Like that.
All that and more.
No.
James is going to go, no.
No.
Let's see about that.
No.
You're wrong, and I'll tell you why later, unless we run out of time. But just know that you're wrong.
Dave there, endearing himself to our viewers, as always. Next up is Dan Hollingsworth, who says this. I love this one, my favourite of the Capaldi run, as the modern Who era finally gets the Cybermen right with the proper sinister body horror. Love the Missy character arc, and the toned down return of the Sim Master works well. It really should have ended with a regeneration.
Yeah, Christmas was a coming.
I hope broadly positive from Dan there.
Yep.
I'll
Maybe I'll come back to some of that later.
Okay.
Tell him why he's wrong as well.
Sensing a theme developing here, Dave.
I was going to say, I love how all this is basically Dave going, you're wrong, form a queue.
It's like the Oprah Winfrey of the post box. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're wrong.
You're a fucking tool. You're a fucking tool. You're the...
like a drunk in the puppet closet. Next up in the witness box is the man who's going to be joining us next time round on the post box. It's Dan Pin, who says, this is so good. Not guilty. The retro Cyberman, Capaldi smashing it, genuine shocks and surprises, poor Bill's end, the Missy redemption arc, and the best version of the Sin Master. Love it. It's the send-off Capaldi deserved. Unfortunately, redacted. More on that next time, I'm sure.
Well, actually, I can kind of see on some of those points that no, you're wrong. No.
There's quite a lot of and buts in these not guilty evidence.
Isn't there? It's almost like people are seeing stuff they don't.
Genius and masterpieces often do go very close to the line of not being.
They do.
You don't make a masterpiece by playing safe.
Nope, not at all.
True.
You've got to break a few eggs to build Rome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll burn those bridges when we come to them.
Okay.
Folks weren't burnt in a day. Or something.
Welcome to the Sylvester McCoy mixed metaphor hour.
But you should have kept that up. It would have got funny eventually after 3 years.
Yeah, we've been saying that about this for years.
5 seasons in.
Yeah, imagine if during Ghostlight it was just there going, okay, mixing up his metaphors. Sorry, that's out.
That's all right, Pete. I'll tell you what, a man who has never mixed a metaphor in his life is the voice of our balls. It's Mr. Daniel Ronsley, who says, accomplishes that classic Who suspension of disbelief trick of taking some wood-stroke fields and convincing you all takes place in a giant spaceship. I'm inclined to forgive Bill living happily ever after with a magic puddle, given what she goes through is genuinely horrific. The Gomez Sim masturbating, please, Daniel, come on. Honestly, it's a classy podcast, man. Honestly. Some people. Works a treat, and the Capaldi is magnificent, but it's the quieter moments that hit hardest. Nardol's dignified exit with Hazran and the kids, or the way the Doctor voice just tails off into a whisper during his Be Kind speech. It stays with you.
Now I want to see Delgado and Ainley meeting up. in the same circumstance.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Imagine the beard off. Next up tonight, Dave Rennie, former guest on this series and other episodes. He says a gripping 2-part finale full of goodness and pain. Defo not guilty.
Yep. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, we need to be more affirmative, don't we? Yes, that is correct.
That is correct, yes. Dave is very much correct in this aspect. We can forgive the whole Hibs thing. It's fine.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know, some things are unforgivable. Next up, it's the ever forgivable James HB, who says, guilty on many counts. First, it's utter bollocks on the relativity front. Moffat has taken something he probably once vaguely overheard something about relativity and spaffed meaningless drivel about it onto the page, as always for him, with zero internal logic or consistency. The less said about biology and what happens to Bill, the better too. Next up is yet another of Moffat's obsessional bootstrap paradox stories. Seriously, time travel gimmicks were okay at first, but by this point I just wanted a decent story, not self-congratulatory smug wankery. I don't think he likes this one. I'm getting a hint here.
He's getting there's an air of it, isn't there?
There is a very faint one. James concludes by saying, penultimate charge, the return of Heller shows that, as with RTD, Moffat is spineless. Didn't buy it at all. And finally, pretty much every single aspect of Missy v. Master was better when Big Finish did it in the first in the two Masters. So guilty and fetch the black cloth.
Nice.
He's not sitting on the fence,
wow.
is he?
No.
I think it's barely getting a 7 out of 10 from him here, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure he watched it and went back to it and liked it second time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you one man who doesn't need a bootstrap because he's got a black belt. He's the one and only Mr. Joe Llewellyn, who says this.
Hey!
Just my second favourite finale of New Who. Series 5 is the first. Of course, that is Joe. That's a connoisseur's choice. All right-minded people think that. Redeemed a middling series. I'd forgotten Sim was in it, so it was a surprise. Doctor, Missy, Master, Bill, all on top form from beginning to end. Moffat does something new and interesting with time. Not guilty, of course.
There we go.
Yeah, couldn't say that
he is correct.
We could pack up and go home right now.
Good night, everybody.
We already are home.
Off you go, Pete.
Congratulations. 893. We'll all go home now.
Next up, it's Cam's husband. It's a one and only Mr. Joe Fords, who says...
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Blowing a hole right in the middle of the second full-time Black Companion and then turning her into a soulless automaton is the most miserable decision Moffat ever made. Yay for representation in Doctor Who, nay for taking us back to the 60s and brutalising people of colour. All right, Joe, keep it light.
Back to the 60s? What's that a reference to?
Not the first message I've seen this week from Joe that started with the word blowing, but there we go.
On that note...
Not the last one that's ended with a brutalisation either.
Well...
Next up, David Gillespie Pratt says this. Oh, a tough one. I said that in the text as well. One hand is brilliant and the other is utterly bleak, but not guilty. And the key piece of evidence for me is the scene where Doctor is tied to a chair and still gets the upper hand. When you're winning and I'm in the room, you're missing something.
That was one bit I wrote down. I hate that line when I was watching it.
They're not even in a room.
Because it's a Sherlock. Because it's the sort of thing Sherlock would say when Moffat was writing him. It's just you can't imagine any classic Doctor being that smug. But,
no.
The line is so bad at both sides of the argument. I've just had to go at it.
I'm meant to be defending.
What a bloody roof! A room without a roof. It's a
very, very tall
It has. It has got a roof. It's in the sky. They're in the floor of the spaceship.
Yeah. That's not traditionally a room, though, really, is it?
Well, it's not traditionally every day you're on a bloody spaceship, is it? Really? But never mind.
You're saying those fields have got a roof as well, because they bloody ain't.
Yeah, the sky's a projection. They talk about it.
Yeah.
The sky's projected on the roof.
You're watching Grand Designs, too hot for TV. Next up, Gareth Bowley, one of our regulars. Gareth says, I want to like it, but I find it tedious. Where are the 80s Cybermen and these evolutions? The Masters of Pettiness.
God,
Yes. I'm supposed to be impartial, but I agree as well. The Master's Pettiness leaves me This leaves me entirely cold and overshadows Capaldi's noble last stand and Bill's conversion. Delete.
Wow. I think this is the one I saw that made me think, all right, okay, it's not universally loved then.
It's quite the kick in the Gareth's giving it there.
It is.
And well made.
Wrongly. Wrong. So very wrong. Wrong.
Next up is a man who's got a bit of a bone to pick with. Paul Quinn wants to take issue with the Polis Box. He says, to challenge the view that I'm usually foul-mouthed and negative when commenting here, this is the best story of Series 10 and it's one of Moffat's greatest achievements. The acting from the regulars is superb. Even John Sim gives a decent performance. But I find it almost unwatchable now because the transformation of Bill, despite Moffat again copping out of the tragic ending for a companion, is so desperately sad. The other problem is frequently mentioned issue of Moffat killing off another major black character, and this time through gun crime. This should have been Capaldi's last story. He essentially got 3 regeneration stories, he certainly got 3 regeneration speeches, and the actual regeneration story is the weakest of the 3. His appeal to the Masters here is one of the greatest scenes and speeches of all of Doctor Who. See? Not a fuck, shit, bollock, wank, piss in sight. End.
Yep.
He's dead right. But with the bit about the Master speech. And it's dialogue as well. Sometimes the speeches just sound like they're being delivered from a pulpit. And it needs to actually feel like it's something a character is saying to another character, and it really does in this one.
I think some of the way it's filmed, because it is just a close-up of him speaking, you don't get the sense that there's other people in the scene with him. It's just him monologuing at a camera, and he's great at it, but there's a lot of it.
Okay. Next up, Bebo Pete, who has this to say. Did Missy put the flutes on her bestie? Yes or no? Such magnificent folly coming from our coldly pragmatic Doctor has a certain balance to it. So does Nardal having let the Doctor go like Marwood leaving Withnail. And seeing how being Ullard feels to Bill makes you sever injury. Not guilty.
Okay.
So, that's another one in the not guilty box. Next up is, I believe, another new person, Rob Laws. Rob Laws, to give him his proper name, not the Scottish version of it. Rob says, Part 1 and the start of Part 2 are absolutely fantastic, but as Part 2 draws to a close, it all becomes a little bit frenetic and loses its way. Still a great story overall, though.
I'll take that. That's good.
You take that.
It is nearly 2 hours long when you add the two together. It's a lot of television to watch. It does.
It is essentially a film.
Yes.
When you combine the two together, it is literally a feature-length one.
Yeah.
Next up is a man who probably, a person who probably. Shall I start that again?
Well,
yeah, it's probably just wind up a bit, then go again.
Tell you what, I'll just not bother to go straight into the tweet. I'll explain later. He's going to explain now. Broadly taking the Ian Malcolm line here, as with Save Vengeance on Varos. Great telly. Love what it does. Bump someone on it being Doctor Who, just so because it's so harrowing. I think it just walks the tightrope, but God, it's bleak.
Yep.
And a little bit of bonus Goldblum there for you.
Interesting. Good point made.
Okay, penultimate bit of your evidence tonight is from the British Alien, who offers up a little bit of positivity here. It's awfully good. One should not be too fussy.
I think that's a rule for everything in life.
Are you sure that was a reply?
The British Alien inviting us to keep our expectations low throughout our life. One man who always offers up great expectations is our final viewer evidence person today. Yeah, it's the Rassilon's Trousers, who says, both great, dramatic, brilliantly acted all round, but also bleak as fuck. Yeah. The scenes of Cyber Bill carrying the Doctor's lifeless body across a war-ravaged wasteland don't exactly scream Saturday night entertainment. Still, we've got the trenches of World War War coming up next, so that should lighten the mood.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. There's something with your turkey. Okay, then. So that's all the viewer evidence for tonight. Thanks to everybody for getting in touch to give us their thoughts. Before we start the trial properly, just time to let you know that you can get in touch with us and give us your thoughts on World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls. All you have to do is send us a comment through the little live chat box on this very YouTube video you're watching. We'll put them up on screen. We've had loads so far, so I'll filter through them and put some up in a little while. And also, voting is now open. So based on the arguments put forward by Cameron, Dave, Pete and Hannah tonight, you get to decide whether World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls are guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Go to our Twitter page at the post box or click on the link in the episode description of this YouTube video. It'll take you straight to the poll. Cast your vote and we will reveal the results at the end of tonight's show. Let's get into the trial itself then, because that's half an hour gone already.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jesus.
As usual in the post box, guest goes first, and seeing it's your first one, Hannah, do you want to give us your first point for the prosecution of World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls, please?
My first point is that although a lot of people have said it's a bit too bleak, it's not bleak and grim enough.
It's good. Damn.
It's Bill is put through hell, but this impact is never fully explored properly. She ends up down on that bottom floor for 10 years, and yet she's still incredibly gleeful and childlike throughout it. She's there, like, excitedly watching the Doctor raise an eyebrow for a week, and is still so up for it when she thinks he's come, like, only sort of 2 hours or so before he actually really makes it down there. It's time before he's chide away for 10 years upstairs. And we've already seen this idea of someone waiting being explored really well in The Girl Who Waited. And we show that really harrowing, and Amy's really scarred by that. And yet, Bill, sort of just nothing. She should be an emotional wreck. She should be depressed. She's been stuck with one dodgy accented friend for 10 years.
He's lovely.
He's not.
Apart from being a psychopath in disguise, he's lovely.
Yeah, well, they often
His mum all the
time. There's a whole lot of dead bodies somewhere they'll tell you that they're not. Bottom of canals in pieces. No. So it's not grim enough there, clearly. And I don't think Bill's cyber conversion is ever grim enough as it should be. The full horror of a cyber conversion is losing your emotions and the psychological impact of that. That's supposed to be the greatest horror. We get all the body horror, but we never get the emotional and physical horror of this. She's all still there upstairs, still by the end. She's lost her arse and kept her emotion. She's got everything else. She's starting to feel something different, she mentions at one point, and that's it. It means it ends up no different to when Perry was getting turned into a bird, when Polly was getting turned into a fish. And it lessens the impact of actual what being converted should mean. We're never going to see it happen to Bill, who we actually care about. Bill never sees it properly happen to other people. All the special patients she meets have already gone through the conversion process. She's never befriends anyone else at all, from what we've seen, to see them go through that, losing their identity, their uniqueness. Everyone else is already faceless. There's no individual identity there. That's meant to be the dreadful part, and it completely misses that out. And I think not seeing Bill lose her lack of emotions completely undermines the cyber conversion process itself. And I think I could probably go on to that a bit more, but we'll stop there.
Okay.
And I'll add to that slightly, because what I do sometimes think, how would I make this better? She could have been shown having proper tantrums and meltdowns while she waits for the Doctor, which is why they decide to give her more and more conversion, which would lose her bits and more of her emotion as the story goes on, till she's almost numb by the time she re-finds the Doctor, and that brings her back to herself, so she knows what she's lost. instead of just being the same build the whole way through. We
The
need to
big-
see her lose things
The
and then
big
bring them
horror
back.
Bill ends up having is that she realizes other people see her differently to how she really is. And I feel as a black lesbian, she probably didn't need to go through that.
Yeah.
She probably got an idea of what that was anyway.
Oh, people are looking at me funny. That's unusual. No, it's not. That's been most of your life. Yeah.
There we go then. Defence.
Wow. Are you stepping in here, Pete, or shall I?
Yeah, I've got one to go. I've got a little case.
Okay.
And so it's about, Moffat's great. Except one thing I hate about Moffat's writing is that he does sometimes do this thing of having a girl who's waiting in a fireplace in a library for the angels, for a time traveler to come back again. And I really hate it when he does that. But he does it in this one, and I don't mind. And I really hate it when he has a story that just hangs on timey-wimey artifice, and it's all just about how clever it is, and how clever he is. And he kind of does that in this one, and yet I don't mind. And it's got the Doctor Who joke. Right, the first time I ever heard somebody make a Doctor Who joke, I was about 6, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And about 2 weeks later, someone made it again, and I was like, "Yeah, it's not funny now. It was funny the time before." And so that's never really landed for me. But in this, when Gomez does it, it makes me laugh. And it puts lore in front of plot sometimes with the Mondasian thing that means no one to no one, and anyway, they aren't. And yet, the way that it's delivered and the way that it lands here works for me. It's got a knob joke. I know I like making knob jokes. I want a knob joke to be something that I add to a viewing experience. I don't want it already there. Then I don't get the fun of adding the own innuendo to it. This has got a knob joke in it. And actually, that doesn't really work. But still, I can forgive it. It's got a fake death. It's got a character dying. Rory dies 3 times a week, 3 times an episode. But
Hey, are you aware you're going to be defending this?
It's got
I was going to ask.
It's got a fake death.
Because you're kind of making some points I've got.
It's got a fake death from a chest wound that's magically undone to let somebody go off and have magical adventures with a charisma-free lesbian at the end of the finale. But still,
a charisma-free lesbian.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is that a Moffat thing? I don't know. But I don't know what she sees in Puddle Girl, but she sees something. And yet, in this story, all of those things I normally hate are made to work. And I don't know if it's Moffat, but I think it's mainly the director. I think it's mainly Rachel Talalay being an absolute genius and being able to take these things that I've seen lots of times before, but weave them together in a way that finally actually made me really enjoy them. And that was the last thing I expected of a finale like this. So my defense is it's made out of ingredients that I hate, and yet I love it. And because it's so well. Murray Gold is on his best behavior. He's really reined in, and it's really sinister. And when they're in the when in the farm, there's this sort of music. It's a bit like the music from My Own Private Idaho. This sort of yodely type music, discordant but sort of haunting. I'm not describing it well, but yeah, Murray's on a really good day, I think, with this story too. And I think the director takes the credit. The cast are also all brilliant, but that's my point number 1. Anyway, there we go.
Okay,
Dave.
Okay,
Dave, Hannah, lean in a bit here. Lean in a bit. Did you notice how I phrased that in such a way that he burned through one of his points prematurely when I was actually getting him to invite his defence against the point that Hannah made?
That's fine.
Great,
the point for the defence was
that
that's me done now. Yes.
That was, that was both. Anyway, so Hannah.
Sorry. Back on course.
What I'm getting from what you were saying is you wish more misery. True?
I don't think it's impactful misery. I think it's there for the sake of it, and it doesn't do enough.
Okay, so as in,
I think it's all surface level, and it's just, nothing actually follows through properly.
Do you mean visually?
Yeah.
So, what would you have done different visually? Are we actually talking about let's show a cyber conversion?
No, I feel like visuals is fine. I
Okay.
feel the emotional, actual plot level of how it should impact us. And I think go on.
There is an element of that is kind of tied in with the Monk trilogy, because that's the reason given by the Doctor for saying that Bill's survived this long and has these emotions left over, despite being in Mondasian Cyberman, build up, and that's why she can still shed tears, and that's why she's still aware of who the Doctor is, and can still say, I am Bill Potts, despite obviously in a cyberized voice. And that's the whole thing of why she doesn't realize she is a cyber. Could I say Cyberman, but Cyberwoman, Cyberperson?
You're a Cyberman.
Yeah.
I think Torchwood burned the word Cyberwoman forever.
That's where I was thinking. I was like, it's not that, but it's so I think. Yeah, let's not let's not go there. Let's not go there. That would have been strategically placed cloth garb, I think, if that was the case. I mean, I think, and I put it down here, it's like often, I didn't like, even in the modern sort of Doctor Who stories regarding the Cybermen, in like Age of Steel and things like that, we've essentially seen all the sort of buzzsaws coming down and all this kind of stuff, and the screaming. But we never really see a sort of human, and I'm trying to explain this without, we see the after effect in a physical sense, and the fact that they're just standing there like, some kind of like, generic cookie cutter Cyberman kind of thing. But we never see an example of that procedure not going 100% right, which I think is probably even more tragic than if it did go fully. If she spent this entire story essentially just, hey, she's a Cyberman now, that's it. She's just walking around shooting everything that and trying to convert more humans in her wake. That would have been, tragic in itself, because that's a horrible ending anyway for a companion. The fact that she has been converted, and the fact that she still knows who she is, still has some level of emotion, still has the ability to experience anger. Because it's that bit in the barn where, she loses her head at the Doctor. So it's a brilliant scene, the two of them have in the barn. And she blows the doors off. She blows the bloody doors off. With the laser beam thing out of the head. That's, to me, gives her character far much more interest because of that conflict that still goes on within her. And she should be one thing, but here she is. She ain't quite made it, and as a result, she is half of the other thing she always used to be. And it's how much she is human and how much she is machine. And that makes that probably more harrowing, the fact that she knows it's happened. When she gets told, and that's what makes it, tragic for me. It adds more punch to it.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing, it's all built around that cliffhanger moment, isn't it? That the Doctor realizes the Cyberman is Bill, and the Cyberman realizes that it's Bill, because it has to find that information. And so you could tell a really interesting story about gradually becoming a Cyberman, but this story is about the shock of suddenly waking up and suddenly being betrayed by this character that she's made friends with. So I think that's why that bit does work for me. That it is the whole point of it is for it to be a sudden shock. But then again, it's Moffat, so we know there's going to be some kind of reset switch coming, and it's him playing that game with us. I fell for it with Clara. With Clara, I absolutely convinced myself that this time the character was really dead, and the reason he'd done it 2 episodes before the end was to make it a shock, to make you think that he was going to bring her back, and then he did. So it was like.
Yeah, but only without her memory, so she didn't remember anything at all, and it was all, yeah.
You hoped she wasn't coming back, basically, Pete.
No, I thought it was a good ending. I was quite moved at the end of Pigeon Street. What's it called?
The darkest episode of Seesaw.
Bloody.
I've memorised the name of this episode. I can't remember them all.
Was there not? Was there not a character called Clara in Pigeon Street? She was the one.
Hey, maybe it's the same.
There was a long distance. She was the lorry driver, wasn't she?
Yeah,
it's long distance Clara. Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe she's a splinter.
Maybe that's
long
it.
Distance Clara knows where the bodies are buried.
Yes, exactly.
Bill I think Bill is the most likable character, the most likable companion that Moffat has given. And deliberately, Amy and Clara are both deliberately written to be prickly people, to have banter. And Pearl Mackie gets dialogue in this that, delivered differently, would be rom-com bantery dialogue, but she just doesn't play it that way. She plays it so naturalistically that it makes her character so likable.
I think we've also seen it in the run to this that Bill is at heart a person full of hope. You know, she's full of hope and excitement and joy. She's a very positive person. So when this happens to her, again, that adds another layer to it, and that makes it even worse that this is happening. Her bright outlook on life is subjected to these sort of steelworks and billowing clouds of chemical into the sky above her.
But I think that's partially the point that Hannah might have been making. We know that Bill has been there for 10 years. 10 years waiting for the doctor, and that's had no effect on her personality whatsoever. She's still the same version of Bill after 10 years. And then she has the cyber conversion, and she's still the same version of Bill. She just doesn't know about the cyber conversion. It's had no effect on her personality whatsoever. She has a really well-written companion. She's quite naive. She has the point of view of almost the viewer to ask all the questions, ask the doctor to explain things. And in this, she's the same. We never see the effect that this time has on her. She is the same after 10 years.
I think there's an argument to be made as well that if Bill is only different on the outside and she is still the same on the inside and is supposed to be horrified by this outside, I think there's an argument there about disability representation. Like, how do you come to terms with the fact that your body has changed, but you're still the same on the inside? And I don't think that's well here.
That's what
Speaking as an old 45-year-old man, it's not even disability representation, it's everyone. You change over time, and some of those changes are really hard to understand and get used to. I look in the mirror in the morning and I don't look like I think I am in my head. And that's what people go through. But it's not really that well shown here because she hasn't changed. And to go back to Cameron's early point, we have before been shown the cyber conversion not being fully effective. And I'll say 4 words: I did my duty.
I think of Lytton.
Yeah, because that's a cyber conversion that doesn't go all the way through, and the person knows who they are inside the Cyberman suit. So we've been shown that before, albeit for a short time.
Yeah, but it's only that was like a fleeting thing. It wasn't like an integral part of that story, was it?
You needed to have Bill be fully emotionally and everything converted there for the start of the Doctor Falls. I think you could say that she's resistant to it, but there's that hint that it's meant to be breaking through. Why isn't that slowly done? Why don't we get to see this slow, painful bit of her change and her lose who she is? Because we never do.
Yeah.
Well, but she's only fully transformed at the start, at the end of the first episode, isn't she? Nothing happens. She's only fully, and it's done for as a shock cliffhanger. I mean, you've got to have cliffhangers. Person gradually spends 10 years slightly changing, which isn't very dramatic.
No, I mean, you can have that at the end of that one, and then
that one, yeah,
second episode to see that slow change of her emotionally as having already had the full physical one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything more to add on that point, anybody?
No, I think we're done. We have spent a long time on that.
Partly because of me crashing it with my.
That's fine.
I panicked and started reading the script that was in front of me instead.
I just wish he'd let someone die. Like you put her through that, and then you just can't let her even enjoy a proper death.
Yeah.
Like you just.
But I mean, again,
in peace.
I know that ties in to this. Well, yeah, that ties into the start of the her like first episode as well. So that kind of gives Bill something of a circle.
Start on that, like Magic Puddle Girl, who we've not seen to the start of the series. Like Moffat's just going to magic like.
She has a name. Her name is Heather.
Heather. Heather's been magicked out of Moffat's arse to come and. Sorry, guys, if you didn't see episode 1, doesn't bloody matter because even if you did, it's still a shit resolution.
She can live her life as an immortal puddle.
Yeah, and
it's
she can be
not
made
even
back
an
into a
original
human.
ending. It's a bloody repeat of what he's done with Clara. Go enjoy it with another girl. Yeah.
And she can be turned back into a human anytime she wants. It'd be funny if they flew. If they'd flown out.
The same thing.
I wanted them to fly off out of the TARDIS together, hand in hand, and then smash into that flying diner that Clara's flying around in. That would have been that would have given us a dramatic end.
They'll have died on the way back to their own planet. Yeah.
If
dear.
had real balls, Bill would either have been able to sacrifice herself, insist she was the one who stayed behind, or we'd have seen that full emotional cyber conversion, and Bill Cyberman would be the one that shot the Doctor at the end. If you want to do proper, true, decent grimness, that should have been how things ended.
Yeah, take that BAFTA award-winning Stephen Moffat.
No, I would definitely also enjoy that, but I don't think this needs to.
You can stop there, Pete. Thank you very much.
But I think a lot of the people the people who find this too grim probably would not. But yeah, is it worse than Adric's fate?
Well, Adric deserves everything.
The character is portrayed to clearly, as we clearly see in his final scene, he's had a lifelong fear of typewriters, and he's finally killed by an exploding typewriter.
Hey man, it's a real fear. It's a real fear.
Yeah. There must be a technical term for the fear of typewriters. Something phobia. There must be.
Quetiphobia.
I'm googling that in the break.
I'll tell you, some people haven't got quertophobia. It's our viewers. They've been sending a few comments in. Well, this has been going on. Gareth Bawley says, Bill was the ultimate Doctor Who fan, watching his slow adventures for 10 years.
Yep.
Actual telesnaps as well.
Actual telesnaps. Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
Hasn't even got the loose cannon scripts.
That's exactly how the massacre feels if you're not in the right mood for it.
Gareth also goes on to say, the Doctor falls sounds like he trips in the rug. He's of a certain age. He will have falls.
We bring in Toby Haydock's joke that in America it was called. They broadcast it as the Dr. Autumns.
Dan Hollingsworth has been in touch saying masturbating, strong, strictly come hamster vibes there.
Oh, pardon.
I forgot.
Oh dear.
Paul Quinn, next season, can you get rid of that clip of Tennant putting on the wig? It gets right on my tits. Stick in a shot of Baker in a wig and stones of blood instead. That's just giving me more work, Paul. More work.
Linda Bellingham.
That'll depend.
Linda Bellingham's what do you mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That would be nice. Yeah. But is it that would depend if we're going a classic series for the next season of the Police Box, isn't it?
Which hasn't been decided yet, obviously.
Hasn't been decided yet.
Decided already.
Really mysterious.
I was thinking about doing more Moffat.
Oh, please make me defend Flux. That would be fun.
Dan Hollingsworth also said, I'm not disagreeing with Hannah's saying, despite being a big fan of this story. And
Doctor Who fans listening to what people say and taking it on board as a new point. Nah,
there's not one of us.
Fucking mental, man, mental.
And as usual, rewriting the story in the comments. Gareth Bowley says, instead of the fields and farms, we needed the Earthshock shiphold. To which Dan
Yes.
Hollingsworth replies, the Doctor reaching a CDI recreation of Beryl Reid would have been nice.
Yeah. And I only just realised that the bit where they say there's 10,000, how many, there's thousands of life forms down there. It's riffing on that line from Earthshock where Beryl Reid says, how many stars have you got? 10,000 of them. But surely, I hadn't thought that.
All 10,000 of us.
Oh boy.
Well, talking of Beryl Reid, without any further delay, let's move on to the next points. Now, Pete, you've already had one, do you want to
so all that shit I said earlier, that.
Go, Pete. Pick one bit from what you said, Pete.
Just the conclusion. This contains loads of Moffat-y things that I normally don't like, but they're cooked up in a way that makes me like them for once. And that is what is remarkable about this story for me. I think it does they all hang together. Rachel Talalay just does a magnificent job of directing it. And the way the characters all riff with each other is just, all that stuff I said earlier. That. There we go. What you got to say to that?
It's an amazing
I rest
shine.
my case.
Yeah, it's an amazing shine that a good director can get when they really try and polish a turd.
It's not a shine, it's weaving. It's taking these jumbly threads that Moffat always does and not just using them to say, aren't I clever? I've read a Wikipedia article about something in science, but actually really making the characters feel real. Samantha Spiro, I had her. And there's a tweet. When was my tweet? I've lost it now. I had it on screen. I had her on my list. On my list of female doctors I wanted because I thought she'd be a very Patrick Troughton-y type of doctor. She'd been in that sitcom with that guy called Grandma's House, the guy who used to do the
Simon.
Never Mind the Buzzcocks. Yes, Simon Amstel. She was his aunt in that, and it's a character role, and she's she's quirky and everything. And like in this, she's very. I'm not saying I'd want if she'd been the Doctor, I would want her to be exactly how she's in this. I'm just saying she's very talented, and she's not got she's not like given huge plot lines or anything. She's just there, and she's got to sell the situation to it, and she sells it really well. But that kind of character, it is the sort of the core of the stories like this need to be built on, because if you haven't got characters like that selling their roles this well, all of the cleverness about how complicated the plot is and the big sci-fi idea of the time differential and everything needs to be hung on people like that, and this story does it successfully, I think.
Okay,
I'll go with that. Shockingly, I'll agree with that.
Right, fine, yeah.
This was one of my points for the prosecution, but it was going to be a small point. The sexualization of Nardole. What the fuck is going on with that?
We'll send us another photo here.
Well, one of my points is, in fact, unnecessary sexualization in this story. But I hadn't got Nardole on there, so that's another one to add on.
Because he's like, I'm not even human. And she goes, I'll try anything once. It's like, what? It's right up there with Love and Monsters for weird sexualization in a Doctor Who story. Because
that was sexualizing a paving slab, so let's.
Nardole's a robot.
I definitely would have gone for Missy grabbing the Master's.
Do we really need to know that he's got a hard on? Like,
no, we don't. Yeah.
We really don't. It's
that could have been implied.
To put the glance down. It's so like. This is a family show. There's that, and it's shoved in again. I hate Bill's last. I'll have a moment for that before I talk about something a bit more serious. I hate that Bill's last lines are essentially her turning around to the Doctor and like teasing the audience that she might fancy him. You know how I've been into girls and people my own age. Yes, but it's like it's teasing the audience that like he might have turned her. And
oh no, it's not.
Like,
but he doesn't though.
But it's still
it's her
unnecessary.
Well, I took that as
the last line.
So it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
How they talk each other's face, and I think that's the bigger issue. That
then
have we got anything to say to one another? I don't know. Maybe like thanks for an incredible experience and changing my life.
That'd be soppy. Don't want that soppy nonsense. I think I really like that bit because it's her just being cheeky and winding him up and winding anyone up who thinks that she's going to turn out to be a stereotypical Moffat female character, because that's the sort of thing that 90% of the female characters he writes do end up doing. And so the fact that she makes a joke about it, I mean, it's a bit nudge and a wink, fourth wall break. But it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like there's in one of the early big finishes, one of the first ones Janet Fielding did. There's a scene where she sits down with the doctor and tells him she's got something important to tell him, and he says something like, "Oh no, you weren't in love with me all along, were you?" And she just roars with laughter in his face. And I like having that bubble burst. So I guess I can see how that could be taken a different way, but I just took it as bursting a bubble of no, we're not going to do that cliche thing that I usually do.
I still think they could have had a better parting of ways. I think that if they choose to have that, no, you needed something more to cement what's like the significance of what's happened there.
Yeah, at that point
you say that next week we get a 3-hour-long speech about departing, and so let's not.
But you've got Bill leaving, and you've got the death of Capaldi, and instead Moffat decides to make it an in-joke about his own writing. From your point, instead of making it about the characters, which is what it should have been. It should have been Bill saying goodbye to the doctor, not Bill saying, "Oh, I'm a lesbian, but you never know." Because it's such disrespect for the character that they've spent months building up. As a strong, intelligent, proud woman, she's now.
Nah, she's not. It's not her. I don't think it's her job to be a trope like that. I think she's a cheeky character who winds up her best mate sometimes, and that's how she goes out. That's my defense of that.
Lately we get her getting her kicks from that. The fact that she can effectively. There's a couple of scenes in this series where she's just she's making the doctor just raise his eyes to the ceiling each time, and that's for just saying just quips and things like that. That's what she does. So I think that whole thing of kind of going, do you remember how I said I like girls? Well, still do. Sorry, that's just that last little bit of humor between the two of them. I think if you were going to go down the road of her, giving a long spiel about summing up the entire season in one thing, and then it's just going to be adding to this bleakness. But I think this light bit of humor is exactly what that needs.
We needed more blankness.
Yeah.
We've established that you want it to be miserable.
Yeah.
But Nardole gets
no
to say,
Cyberman, is it?
You'll never find the words. That's a brilliant exit line. And Nardole gets that. And if she'd had something similar, it would have been really good for the character.
Why are we against, by the way, going back to the original part of this point, why are we against Nardole getting his hole?
We're not against it. It just doesn't necessarily fit with the story.
If you are that woman and you've been in that house and all the excitement you've had revolves around taking a shotgun to Cyberman's face every once in a while,
crucifying hospital patients, wander into your farm.
I think you would maybe need, for at least one occasion, one night, to get your kicks from elsewhere. And if that involves bedding a baldy, then so be it.
Nah, I'm sorry, but how close does death have to be before Matt Lucas in a woolly overcoat looks like a viable option?
It's been a long, long war, Dave. It's been a long time.
All those kids are popping up from somewhere.
Yep.
Oh no! Are we sort of saying that it's kind of like a Smurf situation?
I missed the juncture where we went into that, but
yeah,
you explain.
There was only ever one female Smurf.
Oh,
yep.
I see.
Oh, right.
Yep.
No, there are other.
I'll leave that there.
Yeah.
So you think Nardole was just next on our list?
Maybe she just. Maybe that's what she just likes to do, you know. Maybe she just like gets her kicks out of, as I say, shotguns to Cybermen, and that gets her excited. Who knows?
Well, it's the first time she's met someone who isn't descended from the same 20 ancestors as well. So
probably, yeah, exactly.
There's got to be a bit of a frisson.
There's not many, you know. I mean,
you're not my cousin. How interesting.
How often have in our lives we found a love interest that's come out the ground?
Not that we're willing to admit on camera.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Me and Dave went on a camping holiday and we camped and done nothing else. The spades were just for emergency contingencies.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fact we camped near a graveyard as well, absolutely nothing to do with it.
We were just trying to stay warm that night. We were just staying warm. That's all.
Yeah. With a shovel.
Warm.
Yep.
Yeah.
On that note, a couple more comments have come in. Dan Hollingsworth said, I see Pete's point about this being an old recipe of Moffat's ropes, but cooked in such a way as to make a delicious, well-prepared meal.
I see what he's done there. Yeah.
I see what he's done.
He's clever, that one.
Also says, thinking of what William Hartnell's reaction to those characters being named Bill and Heller always amuses me. He might not have been a fan.
Maybe not. No. Maybe not.
Okay. Right. So technically, Dave, point for the prosecution. That one, yeah. You want to?
Is that what you want from me now? No, like I can give another one.
Okay, if you want to. Yeah. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I might try and make it a bit lighter because we've had quite a lot of deep conversations here. Has anyone here seen Babylon 5?
No.
Cool.
Never heard of it. What was that?
There's a character in Babylon 5 called Zathras.
Zathras. Yeah.
Yes, and that is what John Sim is just channeling Zathras, mixed with a bit of Fagin, and it is just what he's gone from being this intelligent, hyperactive master to being a stereotypical Fagin, literally shuffling about with his fingerless gloves, picking pockets or whatever the fuck he does for 10 years.
He wasn't watching Sally Snaps.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get the acting choice for him to do this. Like, I get he's undercover, but it just makes no sense, and I can't commit to that character at any point because he just seems so insane, and not insane in a fun John Sim way, but just it makes no sense.
I took it as a really nice nod to Time Flight.
That's exactly what I was going to go to.
Or indeed, the King's Demons. The other.
Yeah, to the point where I thought at one point he was going to go shalabim shalabom.
How many nations do we think he offended with that accent?
Well, it's quite clever because the accent's so bad that no nation is going to stake their claim to it. It's all that vibe. I think this is racist, but I don't know what fucking race it's being racist about because it's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a fella that runs one of the takeaways in Carlisle has an accent like that.
Are you sure it's not John Sim as the master in disguise? I've not seen them in anything lately.
He works part-time in a hospital. I'm sure it's just coincidence.
Yeah, you know.
Enjoys it. The master is a master of disguise. That's his thing. And in this, I think he's come back.
Let's see.
A master of disguise is somebody that completely goes into the character and you're not necessarily memorable for the character. Whereas anyone who has ever met this guy will go, that guy was fucking weird. You know that guy in the hospital? And everyone will go, yeah, I've met that guy. He's fucking weird. It would be about a week before somebody just Freddy Kruegered him and burnt him to death for being weird.
Is he not just like a hospital porter though? With access to the mortuary?
Yes.
Have you met
myself?
Have you met people, hospital porters that work night shifts?
Thankfully, no, but I think Jimmy Savile did.
Well, in passing as they gave him the keys.
Yeah.
Your letter was only the start of it.
Yeah.
And Gareth Woolley's just made a good point. Why did John Sim disguise himself? Nobody on that ship knew who he was.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's because he wants to play mind games with Bill. He doesn't want Bill. Bill would recognise him as having been the former prime minister. But also, it's for the reveal with
yeah.
It's
for storytelling reasons. But that's a lot of makeup to go through. He must have put that mask on every day before he went to work.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh God, imagine
2 hours,
2 hours in the makeup chair.
3 hours getting it removed. That is commitment.
Yes. Commitment.
Would he not be? Would he not be hiding from Cybermen as well? Would the Cybermen not identify him?
No, because these aren't really
men are
Cybermen.
a different lot. They don't match up with the continuity of what we have always had.
They are not Mondasian Cybermen, which isn't a thing anyway. But anyway, well, I've always.
Back to that point.
No, that wasn't the point.
Pete.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Jesus.
He's doing a Geordie Owl. He's doing a Geordie Owl.
As if I could have driven this, as if I could have driven this fast when I was that drunk, officer. Yeah, but
I think I have a bigger problem with the sort of Master Missy in that I don't think the arc's resolved well. We've had all these brief scattered bits all series. The arc should be coming forward, getting tied together properly. But apart from the very start, Missy doesn't really get the spotlight at all. We've been teased, and she should be the centerpiece. But because this is more Bill's story, there's not the narrative space to do both. She whispers a couple of lines in the Doctor's ear, and that's sort of it. She's great when she gets something to do, like Michelle Gomez, but don't really feel like she actually gets a great deal to do. I think it's a missed opportunity to explore this arc more fully, and it just comes to a halt. And ultimately, there's no impact for the Master Missy character long term because they're both dead, and there's no impact for the Doctor either because he never gets to see her full redemption. So it feels really incomplete, unresolved. And I say, what was the bloody point of that? It means it all ends up totally meaningless. Not just for these stories, but for the entire of series 10 before us, and all those little bits there. It's completely ruins.
But the whole thing. But she gets that. The fact that she manages to get a showdown with her former self, who hasn't had
hardly a showdown. It's in front
of
each other. How much more in a forest? And
they literally murder each other. How is that not a showdown?
You are decrying. Sorry, Pete. Carry on.
I was.
No, you two fight each other. That's fine.
I'm not fighting him. I'm itching here. I'm itching to me.
There's no organic evolution in that character either. I think there's.
But don't you think we kept
with it? Is there's no good reason ever given why the Doctor thinks this Missy should change, Missy Master.
Why is this one worth trying with?
And
it's cool though. And she's you know how they stick together.
You've got to. There's only 5 million of us. I find it my jaw hitteth the floor when you're saying about how she has no arc when she's the only character in this that is literally standing next to her past and what she used to be and how much she's come along since then, and the possibility that she could finally be reconciled with what has always been her childhood friend. And I think it's sorry, Pete, carry on.
Well, it's just every time the Doctor meets the Master and doesn't just immediately kill the Master, the story's got to draw our eyes away from that being the only sensible thing to do. Every time the Doctor allows the Master to survive, he is signing millions of people's death warrants, and that was true every time John Pertwee let the Master get away, or get him captured. We know if you were to be utterly ruthlessly logical about this, every time the Master goes away twirling his moustache or twirling a brolly, we know that is the death warrant for thousands and thousands of people. But it's a fun story, so we just have to play along with it. But because of that, in this, when she goes quiet, because you're right, she's totally front loaded for the first 10 minutes, and then she falls into the background, but she's there and she's teasing us, and Gomez is teasing us with her portrayal of is she actually going to come right in the end? And I genuinely did not know. It genuinely kept me interested. Also, I've got to say, hands up, I am the idiot who knew that John Sim was going to be in this, and I sat there all through the first episode when it was first being broadcast thinking, well, this is fun, and this Zathras guy's fun, but anyway, now John Sim's going to turn up and ruin it. He's going to start chewing the scenery, because I did not like John Sim's portrayal of the Master at first at all. Not sinister, not Cerbis.
Pete.
In this,
defending
this, he's brilliant. This is
Thank you.
Finally doing the Master. Thank you. This is John Sim finally doing the Master as wonderfully as I would want him to. He's sardonic. And he's got his make. He starts putting makeup on a bit, and that's he's being suave, and he's weighing up the notion that his future is female. And
we'll come to that.
Right. So that's a big fan of John Sim in this.
Indeed. But if we're talking about Michelle Gomez's performance, which I think was what the core of this was, then yes, I say when you're talking about how you and I, when I was watching this, obviously I'd seen it before, but you do have a genuine belief from Michelle Gomez's performance that the Master is going to turn face and is going to be on the good side. And it's that culmination. It's the moment where the three of them, Missy, the Master, and the Doctor, are all talking outside that farmyard, and he's saying, stand with me. And the Master, John Sim, walks away straight away. This is the face that didn't hear a word you just said. And off he goes. And Missy takes a couple of steps and then stops. And that's key to the whole thing for me. And then what more of a brilliant ending does the Master have in this than, as they say, shooting themselves in the back? The Master is so down and dirty and evil, he will betray himself.
But it won't matter. It won't matter because he says, like, you won't be able to regenerate. We know that's bollocks.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
But it's for now.
It just went like like it's not going to mean anything. Like for the character going.
You can criticize Planet of Fire on that basis. Who'd do that?
We can criticize Planet of Fire if you like, as well as this.
Yeah, we're gonna have a go at Planet of Fire.
Pull this box, everybody.
Why don't we just do the entirety of Doctor Who?
We're working on it. We'll get there in the end.
Eventually, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I mean tonight.
They keep making more of it.
Why doesn't Doctor Who just stop?
It made everyone very angry.
They could have another hiatus, let you catch up a bit.
Yeah, we need another good 16 years of just not being on telly would be good, and all the podcasters could catch up. And then just when we're going, run out of shit to do now, they go, oh, we're bringing it back.
But selfishly, they carry on, and that's why Russell T Davies must go.
Must go now.
Yes,
must go now.
And Tom Holland's going to be the Doctor. Oh shit! Right, okay.
Philip Hinchcliffe producing.
Yes.
Murray Gold's still doing the fucking music, though. Well, know that.
Yeah, from his crypt.
Hinchcliffe interviewed a few times, and he keeps being asked, "Would you go back if they asked you?"
Do they?
He's sort of 90 years old.
Let him enjoy his retirement.
He's not got long left. Leave the man alone.
It's like It's like these people that talk about, oh, they never invite Tom Baker to these Comic-Con appearances, do they? He's an old man.
So brittle.
You spent 12 hours viewing for 2 seconds with Shooty Gatwa, like, who stood up for the entire of it, going, next.
Yeah.
You think Tom Baker can manage that?
Exactly.
Just stand there shitting himself going, who am I? What's going on? And that would be it.
He spent 12 hours a day propping up bars for a couple of decades. Like, let him have to sit down now.
The calves on that man must be like iron. Surely he can manage it.
Oh, man.
Okay. Gareth Bowley said this. Well, it's been gone. The 8th Doctor at least let the Master get sucked off in the Eye of Harmony. Ruthless. That limp offered hand not helping anyone.
Yeah. That.
There you go. Okay. Right, before we go to half-time, Cam, do you want to give us a quick point for the defence?
Oh, God, you've asked for a quick one, and I had a sort of major one, which is going to spiral off into a really long conversation, I would imagine.
Well, you can use that for
shit.
episodes.
Just try and think of a small thing that you like about this. Anything, Cam, just a small thing that you like. Think of one. Can you think
Small
of one
thing that I
small
like.
thing that you like?
Come on.
Some of the... we'll go with a smaller point. Some of the imagery in this is absolutely glorious. I'm thinking the cyber hospital is creepy in the best possible way, and I think the actual sort of like farmhouse standoff with all the how the Dr. Falls gets introduced in those first couple of minutes with the kids on the horse and carriage, and all like the Cybermen being chained up to like crucifixes in the front fields. Things like scarecrows. I think that was excellent. There's a certain level of just absolute creep that runs through this, which is brilliant. There you go.
It does have kind of an otherworldliness to bits like that, where you feel it's similar to what you know, but just slightly off kilter.
Yeah.
And the scale of the ship, and seeing that opening shot looking in through the windows, you're like, wow, Doctor's really going here. We're doing a Ringworld type thing. This is proper hard sci-fi on a BBC budget being realised. Yeah.
Well, being attempted is not realised.
I'm amazed it looks as good as it does still.
It does look really, really good.
Yeah.
Like
the CGI in this is...
have to shut a door in a forest and do some day for night filming like it's the 60s.
Yeah. We need a spaceship control room. Oh, that one will do. It looks like a spaceship control room. Perfect.
But I mean, the thing that
ran out of money for
it would have been. There's a bit of blue filter going on. The thing about this is, and this would be, there's the last couple of points I got on the other side of the page. If this was like all on board a ship, and we just had a CGI ship for this entire thing, in a traditional sense of a spaceship, then it would have been obviously, it would have been quite costly, and it would have been, getting quite dull and boring. But the genius masterstroke in this is the fact that going, no, we've got different floors that can pretty much be anything, and that's why you end up having rolling fields and farms and countryside on
ocean, don't we? At one point,
yeah, exactly. And this is part of, it could have been anything on any of these floors that we could have gone to. But it makes it a brilliant contrast between the industrialized bottom part of the ship of the cyber factories and this threat to this, way of life led by nature that the machines are coming to take over. And it gives it that extra oomph as far as that's concerned.
Well said.
I think to an extent you're right. But
good. Yeah, I'm right. Good. Right.
A lot of the time you feel like these are very, very separated environments, which we know they are by many, many floors.
Yeah.
There's never a sense that the Cybermen are just next door. They're about to break through that wall. They're always like 400 floors and several days away until they're not. So there's not really that sense of impending doom as much as there maybe could have been. More
there's
bleakness.
literally a counter which goes down.
Yes. I know. And they're on thousands of floors. Except we'll never see 3 of
It's
them.
never getting close, is it?
Yeah.
I'd love it if when they're in the lift, the "Are you being served" music played. That's one thing that I really want. 2097th floor for genocide. Carnage and...
Oh God! Imagine a cyber Mr. Humphreys.
Just comes out and goes,
Are you
nobody's
free to
free.
murder? I'm free.
Free from emotions.
Where is my pussy? Yes, no, that's not.
Oh my God.
You got to do the sing something. Where is my pussy?
Lee.
Yes.
Not the episode title. My
Too
mum
late.
watches these
Too late.
things.
Too late.
Oh
You
Christ!
know, I will always
Oh, my
go for
God.
the most lewd and embarrassing one, just
You
in
do.
the knowledge that your mum will see this. So,
Yes.
that's
Brilliant.
locked in.
First thing on Facebook. Valerie Phillips liked this. Oh, great. Yeah.
In that case, can we not call an episode Sucking Donkey Dick? Just like comes up Valerie Phillips like this.
That's me ma.
Yep.
Leave it alone.
It's probably Moffat's probably got a draft script called that somewhere.
Probably.
Doctor Who in an exciting adventure with sucking donkey dick.
It's the equivalent
Right
of the
now on target.
Christmas tape.
We've gone down a bit of a dark rabbit hole there, so shall we go to the half-time break on that savoury notes?
Half time.
Yeah.
Half
We're
time.
having a long haul tonight.
Let's get
Like
another
I'm
theatre.
working
We'll
tomorrow.
crack on like the theatre, we'll crack on with Act 2. In Act 2, we'll pick up the pace.
Yeah. Okay, so before we come back for Act 2, just enough time to remind you that voting is still open, so based on the arguments put forward by Cameron, Dave, Pete and Hannah tonight, you get to decide whether the world enough in time and the Doctor falls as guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. The poll is on just now. Cast your vote on Twitter, go to @thepolisbox or click on the link in this very episode and it'll take you right there. We'll reveal the results at the end of tonight's show. We will be back in a few minutes' time to carry on the rest of the trial, so we shall see you very shortly. And we're back for the second half of the trial of World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls on the Polis Box Live. Right, before we get back into the trial itself, we have had some worrying developments while we've been away, mostly from our viewers. I don't know if you two want to explain yourselves, Pete and Hannah, because this will inevitably go to a different court. I've broken into a Blake 7 film location with these two.
No comment. I'm putting nothing on the record about this whatsoever.
No, these allegations are completely unproven.
Dan, you'll be hearing from our solicitors.
Yeah. I mean, Dan may try and blame us for whatever reckless, foolhardy things he may have done involving a sign that clearly said "Keep out, no admittance," especially fucking Blake 7 fans.
I was just a display.
I don't recognise a picture of a version of me who would have just climbed over that cackling like a maniac and run towards the abandoned facility that Blake 7 was once filmed at. I can't think that is the type of thing I probably would have done. So it must have been somebody else.
Does it? That's not you, Pete. That's not you.
To be honest, Pete, you don't look the sort.
No.
Dan Hollingsworth was also in church during half-time to say, a long podcast that has a toilet break. What a good idea. I was the only person to take one in the Strictly Come Hamster episode I was on. I assumed they all had special commode seats.
A truly depraved podcast unlike this one with such high standards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very high. All this was prompted by Mikey Smith saying, I've been in a pop crawl with at least 3 of the panel tonight.
I like the at least 3. Like, you might have forgotten some of the others.
People do get me and Hannah mixed up sometimes. They're not sure which one's which.
He also says, I love the confidence of a 2024 live stream that takes a 1979 style commercial. Legends. Well, more words from our sponsors later in tonight's show.
Right, before we start again, I'm going to need to drop off and come back in about 20 seconds.
All right, okay. All right, you do that. And while Dave is doing that, let's, I'll take a little look at the vote and see how that's going, because that'll pad out a little bit of time. Without giving too much away, I can reveal that it's very heavily skewed in one particular direction. It's a big old gap at the moment. So
okay. Sounds ominous.
Yeah, someone's going to have to do. They'll have to pull the irons at the fire in the second half. Just a reminder, if anybody that's watching it's just joined us, voting is now open, so you can influence the outcome of tonight's vote based on the arguments put forward by, I was going to say these four, but Dave's not here, but these three plus one when he comes back.
Yeah.
You can decide whether we're well enough the time and that Dr. Falls is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Go to Twitter at the Polis Box or click in the link in this video's episode description and it'll take you right there. Cast your vote. We'll reveal the results at the end of tonight's show. Dave is now back, so let's bang up in his corner and get everybody back where they were. There we go.
This is power. This power you have to make everybody be in the right order. It's like, why doesn't Teams have this? Would you please host all of my work meetings? Yeah.
I am not a man to abuse power such as that. I would not mess around with the format whatsoever at any juncture during tonight's show.
Suddenly I can hear the blankety blank theme music.
I am now.
And it'll never leave you. There.
Well, we're going into our super match game.
Oh, okay, let's crack on with the trial then. Hannah, do you want to give us a point for the prosecution of World Enough in Time and the Dr. Falls, please?
We are denied a regeneration that we so clearly deserved. We're teased from the pre-titles of World Enough in Time. We're teased in the next time trailer for the Dr. Falls. And he ends up drawing out his regeneration longer than David Tennant, which I didn't think would ever be possible. That is quite some one-upmanship. Not only are we denied this, but there's no effort whatsoever to give us a good reason why this particular doctor doesn't want to change. There's all some vague fluff and weariness in another story that we're not going to talk about. But in this story itself, there is none. As well, that he has been electrocuted by Cyberman and shot multiple times and still doesn't quite manage to trigger that regeneration. That is quite some holding off. And then right at the end, he's just some more... one of our problems has been we cannot get back to the TARDIS at all because it is all these floors away. The plot itself hangs on this. Oh, well, we can just magic his body back up there now with fucking Puddle Girl, can't we?
She's got no charisma, but she's quite handy when it comes to cleaning up.
Yeah, great to pull out last minute when you've got a plot you've got to tie up neatly. Except you don't, because we're still hanging on a regeneration. And I think what partly annoys me about this as well is that there are some clear, decent reasons you could have had for why this doctor doesn't want to regenerate. I won't let's just talk about like Missy again, but the point is the doctor doesn't see her turn away from her former self in the end. He sees her go off with him and doesn't get to see that redemption. So as far as he's concerned, he's failed in his mission to redeem her. He's failed Clara and he's failed to save Bill here as well. These would all have been really compelling reasons for him want to stay as he is, to driving him on, to try and fix the people he so clearly cares so much about. But, you know, he's not starting Superman. Like, this should have been enough for him to have this regeneration, and instead, we have to wait another bloody 6 months. This is going out in July. It's more than 6 months. It's 6.5 months until Christmas, which we won't talk about because that's far too big a hole to fall down. it just feels like too convenient of, well, we wanted to do this story and his contract's still Christmas. But we should have had the regeneration in this story.
Okay. Defense. Your response.
So I thought you said Pete there. I thought you were.
I'm biting my lip after I splurged all over the wrong thing last time.
Damning silence.
I think that's a really good idea, and it would make this story even better. But I still think it's fine as it is.
You think the next story's fine, Pete?
Defense, Pete. Defense.
It's not this story's fault that Chibnall wasn't available, and so we had to have an extra episode with Capaldi at Christmas. That's what happened after this story. That's not a problem with this story.
Well, it is, because it didn't happen in this story.
Yeah, it causes problems for this story.
Is there not a suggestion when he's on the TARDIS at the end, and he does say something, I'm trying to remember it now, but he does say something along the lines of, like, he doesn't want to change because he effectively feels like he's starting again?
He said he's fed up
And
of change. That's what he says.
Yeah, well, he's fed up of having to be...
Quite a lot before. Were you not fed up after number 7? Why is this Doctor got a problem suddenly at this point?
In pretty rapid succession from his point of view, he's lost Clara and then lost Nardole and Bill on that day. And so that's his reasoning for not wanting even more. He doesn't want to lose himself as well.
So why don't we get that point? Why is it not about the fact that the other people? It's not. It's all about him. And I don't think that's a good reason for him not to change.
Was there not also a suggestion that the 12th would be the last one? Is that with Capaldi?
No, that was the 11th. It was the 11th was meant to be the last one, but then Clara cried, so
it couldn't right, okay. Yeah. I was trying to remember if that was a thing.
My mind too. Clara cried in a crack, and so the time. But it turns out the Timals were just pretending to give him extra lives because actually he has infinite lives. It turned out all along. So she cried for nothing.
Cheeky bastard.
Companions crying over nothing, like.
Yeah, doing maths and crashing into dinosaurs, and
Excuse me.
You're right there, Pete.
Threw me because he's frozen.
Got a bit of biscuit stuck to the back of my mouth.
What type of biscuit is it, Pete?
Shut up, you. My intermission.
Nothing will impact your liver, I hope.
No, yeah. The reason I'm drinking tea, boys and girls, is not because I've turned over a new leaf, but I am having my cholesterol meds tested tomorrow, which means they're also going to test my liver, which means I can't have a glass of wine with my dinner tonight, otherwise they might increase my medication. All right, rub it in, Hannah.
Let's all drink to that.
You made it go the wrong way.
I'm defending Moffat and I'm sober. I never thought those two things would happen at the same time.
Oh, Pete, you're not the only sober one. Don't worry.
Hey.
It's fine. No, I find it quite refreshing that this is a Doctor that resists his regeneration. And I know it's kind of like it's not a regeneration which is forced upon him, as they did with Troughton. It's more just the fact that he's reached the end of a very long line, and this is what always happens. He always has to then, work out who he is again and have a whole new, persona that he then has to adapt to, and spend time working out what exactly he is. Because I think it was, Capaldi was the one that was asking himself, what kind of man am I? And this is sort of the antithesis of that. He's worked out who he is. This is what he is, and he'd like to stay that way. Thank you very much.
I don't know.
Go on, Pete. Go on.
Yeah, he's had an arc. Yeah, and like I think they got his Doctor so wrong that first year, and here they've got it right. So I would have been happy if he'd stayed for another year.
Exactly. I think obviously,
and there's that sense of dread with this episode. The way it starts with him just kicking back, eating crisps, giving. He's got complacent, and it is a lot like the start of Caves and Randazani in that respect. Just comparing it purely in terms of what the Doctor's like at the start versus the end. It's not one that starts with the Doctor being, this is near the end of my time, which lots of them do now. It's a bit overdone in my opinion. It's more that he goes in, in Caves and Randazani, he's just looking at some glass and some sand and stuff, and then suddenly everything snowballs out of control, and he realizes he's in a story that is not the type of story he's going to emerge unscathed from.
No. It's very similar to Caves of Randazani in this fact that, we always say Caves of Randazani is amazing because it's the regeneration story where nothing goes right for the Doctor, everything is desperate and goes wrong. And here it is again, nothing goes right for him. No plan is 100% effective in this at all. It's the same idea, and this is what also kind of shares that DNA with Randazani, and what makes it the revered story it actually is.
But Randazani with the regeneration.
Yeah, but Randazani didn't have a Christmas special coming, did it?
Imagine if the whole of the Twin Dilemma had been Davison holding in a regeneration.
Yeah, just holding it in and holding it in.
Even if it had, that wouldn't spoil.
Production has decided that Christmas special can't start with a new Doctor, and they have sacrificed this story for it. That's a choice, and this story is lesser for it. There's no other good reason.
No, it's like the people in Belfast. You can buy postcards of the Titanic that say it was fine when it left here, because that's how Doctor Who is. Hold
on. The same person responsible for these stories is responsible for the rest. The people of Belfast were not responsible for the iceberg.
They'd have you believe.
Well, I'm sure there's claims.
Belfastian icebergs get everywhere.
Can't walk down the street without bumping into one. Dan Wallingsworth does agree with the prosecution's points, saying the lack of regeneration at the end of the story is its biggest fault.
Okay. I'm surprised that we don't get. Again, and this isn't. I'm not. But like it would. I'm just surprised we don't get to see the regen energy going on either of the masters at the end. Well, I know why we don't on Missy, because we're meant to think she's literally dead. But a little bit of regen energy coming off John Sims' master. But I guess they don't want to.
He's not been electrocuted and shot multiple times.
And that stuff has, but also the regen energy has been cracking off left, right, and centre for the past few stories. So yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously we all know that Missy's not dead because they just will never kill the master off completely. So a little sparkle of regeneration energy might have been a nice touch as you see her starting to come back, because we all know she's coming back, or the master's coming back.
Yeah, so. They must have thought about that, but it's more of it's actually teasing us by not doing it. We know we're waiting for it, and then when it doesn't happen, it's edging us. Towards that moment.
But that's what they've done with the Doctor. They've edged us. They've shown us the regeneration at the start, and then at the end, we're just left disappointed because they've been edging us this whole way through.
And then you've got to deliver, and this don't deliver.
Yeah,
it's a twist. It's an unexpected twist that he doesn't regenerate.
Because everyone says that when you've been teased for 2 hours and then left with nothing, it's always great. Everyone likes that.
You can't just pick it up 6 months later and expect it to feel the same.
Nope.
Weirdly, and I researched this, Jodie Whittaker hadn't been announced yet.
Because it was Wimbledon when she was announced, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So only a couple of months later. Yeah.
I thought she had, because this was obviously broadcast the 24th and the 30th of June as well, and 1st of July, wouldn't it? But the trailer for Jodie Whittaker was the 14th of July. So because I thought in this that they would have announced Jodie well in advance, as I'll get to in a minute, was to my next point.
Well, in advance, they didn't. You have to wait fucking 6 months.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they'd announced that she was on the way, and then this is what we were waiting on her appearing. we would genuinely have no idea who the next Doctor was going to be.
Decent change, then. We'd actually everyone get a bloody surprise
It's so
for one.
conservative. This just shakes it up a bit. This is just saying we don't have to always do what people expect.
Yeah.
I think
And I think
expectations would be showing the new Doctor before they've been officially announced.
Yeah. Reveal it at the end of
That would be
episode, not in the middle of Wimbledon.
Absolutely impossible, now, wouldn't it? Absolutely impossible. There's no way you would keep that secret.
Well,
Absolutely
if
no
all
way.
you've got to do is slot them in for the final episode and Christmas isn't on for 6 months, you've seen it in July, you then can start filming everything else from August in time for Christmas and beyond next year.
But then you've got to have another episode with the Doctor who's already left because Chibnall's not available because of Broadchurch.
Well, that's a production issue. That's
exactly, which you can't blame the episode for. Thank you. I agree.
You can blame the story choices because of production. They chose because of production to not show the regeneration. They chose to tease it from the very beginning of this and then not give fans the payoff.
They didn't choose it for character or plot reasons. It was for production reasons, and I think
that's the only reason any Doctor.
Crime.
That's the only reason the Doctor's ever regenerated. Get rid of that.
They've done it well before.
All this talk has fired up the commissioning department that is our comments section on YouTube again this week. Daniel Runza says the Twin Dilemma as a Christmas special would have been even better.
Christmas specials are never that good. So,
yeah, I'm not a fan of Christmas specials generally. Actually.
You're meant to watch them slightly pissed and fall asleep halfway through.
Daniel Runza says Perry Shag often loves a hermit. Do you mean like Santa Claus?
Yep.
And Dan Hogginsworth says, I have a new level of respect for Pete for having to do this sober.
It doesn't. He's not specifying whether it's higher or lower. He's not specifying.
This must be one of the few occasions Pete and I have spent together sober.
This is the longest we've ever been sober in each other's company.
They're getting really fighty with each other.
I think this is our second time in a row. Possibly. I think the last time actually Pete and I were together, we were sober. I was, certainly. The fact that Pete clearly wasn't even then. So
I'm saying nothing. I'm not committing.
You two are the first guests we ever had on. I just have to get a drink in you, and it'll all be fine. Rather the other way around.
Yeah.
That tea should have been a hot toddy.
All right, let's go to this sober one of the 5S then. Pete, do you want to give us a point for the defence of World Enough in Time in the Doctor Files, please?
I do, and I'm glad this one hasn't. I was worried someone else would pick this one off already, but because this is after 10 flipping seasons, New Who, 21st century Doctor Who, finally on telly, in my opinion, does the Cybermen right at last. The Cybermen are weird, scary, vulnerable. They're all about. It is our fear of hospitalization and made it into a reality where these big stampy robot men with the brain shoved in them that we've had could be fun. They have exciting adventures and they have big battles with the Daleks, and that's all exciting. But the scariness of the Cybermen, and again, it's done a bit. I'm not saying they've been rubbish up till now, but I think this is the first time that it really feels like this is a story that remembers what the Cybermen are and what the Cybermen are for, and yeah. So bringing back the original Cybermen. I've always joked about the word Mondasian, even when I first saw it in DWM or somewhere many years ago. I was like, nobody calls them that. They're just the original Cybermen. But I can live with that. That's a very minor gripe because having those voices back, it's just the chill of the 10th planet Cybermen back, and tying it all in that the moment where Missy realizes she's looking at a map of Mondas. And it's sort of a red herring because they haven't actually got that. You then later find out that they haven't actually got there yet, but then that in itself is turned into a twist, and And Moffat does enjoy jumping around in continuity, but and throwing in those little bits about Planet 14 and Marinus, which works because the point is, it doesn't matter if you've never heard of them at that moment. It's just, here's a list of other planets where humans have ended up turning into Cybermen. You can just get that if you've never heard of any of those things. The fact that he's at the same time as doing that, naturally throwing in things that tie up a little continuity things, that's clever. I sometimes find people say Moffat's clever, and I mean, he is, but sometimes I'm like, it doesn't land for me. But that, because it's actually subtle, it's actually addressing a little continuity point, but it's doing it as a side blow, while it's the main thing is he's delivering this concept that wherever there are humans, you get Cybermen. And that's terrifying. The idea that humans normally end up abandoning our souls and abandoning our emotions. I got away with saying abandoning our souls. I don't think anybody noticed. And that's Cybermen done right. There we go. That's my point.
I don't think
I also think
Cybermen are ever actually that threatening, though. We touched on this before. We said they're always many floors away. There's never the idea that they're imminently there. There's a lot of time to prepare and make defences for them. It takes a full 10 years of Bill being down there before she's converted. That's a bloody long time. Just sort of stretch that out. Like, the villagers have them up as scarecrows in the field. Yeah, when they get a bit close, they're scary, but they seem to be really easily defeated. Like, they're get shot off by the villagers, who are supposedly these rural backwards lot, and they still manage to defend themselves against them. They're even easy to pick off once Nardol's souped up their guns, and all 3 Time Lords have sonics that can just blow them up. Even the Doctor has a line about, I don't like guns, and he's effectively got one with his sonic that is just blasting Cybermen about. It's pure bad luck in the end. He gets shot by some. But the whole time that they're like approaching them, like Master Missy and Doctor on the roof, they just manage to hold them back with blasts from their sonics. What sort of threat is that if you can just easily knock them down like that? I think that visually it's nice. I think the idea of it is nice, but it doesn't follow through. They are never actually allowed to be physically threatening. We should be seeing those children get grabbed
in the mincer.
You want blood, don't you? You genuinely want blood.
But like,
Children's blood.
There's never any sense either that, like, if a Cyberman gets you, that's it. Like, you're quickly getting converted. It takes 10 years before Bill is fully converted, and we never see one grab someone and then that person return as a Cyberman.
But that was in the early days. But that was in the early days, where Bill's down there. Sorry?
Cyber NHS cutbacks. That's basically
the waiting list are dreadful down there. Yeah,
but we can only afford one drill now.
And also, with Bill, they haven't really invented Cybermen yet. You know, remember, we're seeing this accelerated evolution, and so by the time when Bill's down there at first, they haven't got around. She's possibly one of the very first ones to ever be cyberized, because that's they've only just invented the helmet thing, and that reveal as the helmet is coming on, that this makes you stop. It doesn't solve the pain; it just stops them minding. Although maybe even the same pain, they were actually.
He doesn't even get upgraded to the special patient, so there's no. They're the ones who are like living in horrible agony all the time, but there's she doesn't even get close to that for 10 years.
Yep.
But then she's down there because of a wound, whereas the others are all everyone else down there is just deteriorating because of the pollution and everything. So she is a different case to everyone else. But also, got to say though, Cybermen in the woods, Cybermen stalking through the woods is like, it's just so cool. I wish there was. I wish there was an 80s one thrown in for good measure. They've not got limitless budget. They gave us a good few different types of Cybermen.
Yeah, they've blown it on that door in the forest, and I'm not going to stop going on about this.
In the forest is awesome.
If you can have one 60s Cyberman and one noughties one, God damn it, we deserved an 80s one. Just one, just a head.
I think it's nothing a midnight raid at the Doctor Who experience couldn't solve.
Yeah. Thank you, Cam, for that point with us. Yeah. Where are my goddamn 80s Cybermen?
I mean, I suppose we had It was only the previous year we had the Here's Every Dalek. So just the following up the very next year with that and Here's Every Cyberman would feel like that. People,
What are you
you'd
treating
be
the Cybermen as
complaining that they
then?
would just
If we do it for the
recycle.
Daleks, then we deserve it for the Cybermen.
If they'd done it, you'd be complaining that they were just repeating what they did with the Daleks.
This is brilliant. We've turned podcasters against each other.
Thank goodness we've been trying for 4 series. Now we've finally achieved it. The next
Actually ruined the friendship tonight.
We are the Polish box, the destroyers of friendships. Amazing.
Okay, any more on that point, or are we just going to resort to punching each other in the face?
Punchy.
Yeah.
Punchy.
Ironically, this is what I'm normally doing on a Thursday night, is punching people in the face.
Just randomly walking around.
It is actually like proper martial arts.
So.
So she says, it's just people at bus stops who happens to be passing.
Yeah,
We've seen
smack one.
Hannah Cooper.
There's actually a beatboxing class she signed up for. It caused all sorts of mayhem when everyone else was just trying to. I was just trying to do a drum rhythm, and this woman attacked me.
You'd have been fine on that pub crawl with me.
Okay then, Dave, do you want to give us the next point for your prosecution case, please?
It's a relatively small point that Hannah almost touched on there. The doctor says, "I don't like guns," and then hands a hand grenade to a fucking child.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, remembrance of the Daleks.
And it's get completely. We don't mention that. They say,
We should
no,
be
a child
cutting
can't
to
have
a
a gun.
70s, like information film there of a child with a burned hand.
Yeah. But is the doctor thinking, no, children can't have a gun because that'll scar her for life? Instead, here's a hand grenade to blow up a group of what used to be people. Like
It looks.
It's
It's disguised as an apple. It's fine.
Yeah, but she's going to remember when she gets older.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, remember that time Oh, wait, those were people. Like...
Annie, was your dad in there? Oh.
Yeah. You remember your brother that got taken by the Cybermen? He was maybe in there.
Yeah.
All the other women that don't exist in this farm, which we've already touched on, it's a bit weird. Maybe that's
Not all will sort them all out.
Maybe when the girls hit puberty, they get given to the
Willie,
Cybermen.
Willie.
But yeah, it was just the fact that the doctor said his usual line of, "I don't like guns. Here, have humanity's first weapon." Humanity's first weapon was not a hand grenade. Humanity's first weapon was mean words. And they are not going to stop the Cybermen. But using children as soldiers is quite a big step for the doctor. And it's kind of glossed over that he does that here. And he does it openly and deliberately. And I get that they're under attack and they're under siege because another fucking base under siege story.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a case though of
the smallest, cutest child and give her explosives.
A lovely contrast. I think though it's an element of, we know that the Cybermen are always going to come find them, no matter how many floors they're going up. So, it'll just take time. So as these kids get older, they need to learn how to defend themselves and defend where they are. And if that involves hey, have a hand grenade, it's shaped like an apple, but never mind. Then it's going to be that way. You're going to teach these kids that, there's going to be a fight and you might as well get started right now.
Violence is the answer.
Kill the monsters. Kill the monsters. Yeah.
Kill all the monsters. It's fine. They are not human anymore. Blow them up.
Except for Bill, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, but she's the only one that's gone through the monks.
So
she's the only one she's resisting.
They've decided to dehumanize the immigrants and turn the children into soldiers. And that's the good bits of the story, is it?
Yeah.
Because the immigrants won't assimilate into our culture. We need to blow them up.
It's not immigrants. They're coming to eat them. Well,
yeah, that's it. You see?
Immigrants are coming to eat your children.
Give them all hand grenades.
Time 40 said so.
Pete Lambert.
Yeah.
But yeah, it struck me as the kind of thing that the doctor would always rail against, using children as soldiers in a war.
Yeah, he does, except when he doesn't. It's that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I don't think if he didn't, I think there'd be about 3 people, and one of them's Nardole.
Also, I could have added that. I could have added that to my list of things I normally hate in Moffat episodes, and I don't in this one. And that's the children. The children, particularly the main girl in this. She's fine. She's good. I don't hate her at all, which is quite unusual. Normally, as soon as Moffat gives the kids are just so obnoxious. Oh God, the ones in the Cyberman story, the ones in Nightmare in Silver.
They've learned from that, Pete.
Oh
and
my God.
they've
God.
Slimmest characterization possible, apart from look cute, be kind to Bill, here commit some violence. Yeah.
I love how long the shadow that Angie and Artie have cast over Doctor Who.
They were awful.
We all just shivered at the mention of the name.
The only kids that can be taken to another planet look outside and go boring. That was just like the moment.
When did it start? Did it start with that lad who won the Blue Peter competition?
Oh, the one in last of the time?
Utopia. He's one of the
Stars
he's one
are
of the people
made
being
of
evacuated.
diamonds. That one. Yeah.
He has gone on to be a professional performer. So I'm glad it worked out so well.
There. Bringing shame upon our nation. Okay.
Yeah, that was my
I think
point.
Yeah.
Child soldiers, bad thing. Except when the Doctor does it, apparently.
Child actors, even worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more on that one? Anyone?
I think we're done.
Okay. Cam, it's you again, and I think you said you had an absolute barnstormer of a point. See if
Well,
saving up. So,
I
do you wanna
think
use it
it's
now?
kind of one of those things that I thought would have been extend out in a further question. We have kind of briefly touched on it. The question of gender in this. And as we've said, Jodie Whittaker hadn't been announced yet. And it always confuses me about how when the Master changes gender, it's seen as perfectly acceptable. It's all fine. Not a problem at all. Everyone's on board with it. John Sims there. Michelle Gomez is there. You can have that. As soon as the Doctor did the same thing, it was all those idiots and knuckle draggers going hashtag not my doctor. And I'm a bit like, where's the difference in that? You know? Despite, can we... It's essentially what we've learned from that is you can fuck around with your villains as much as you want. Touch the heroes and you're dead, essentially. But in this, there's a lot of like, and I didn't realize at the time, obviously, and I don't think anyone did, but watching it back now and knowing what's coming soon, you realize that the groundwork is being laid for the Doctor to change gender and be played by Jodie Whittaker. It's it's the whole fact that John Sims Master, is wearing eyeliner at one point, which I don't think he does at any point until this story.
No, yeah, he gradually starts doing that. After
and that's just a subtle thing. At one point, I think he's actually putting more eyeliner on. If I remember rightly. There's also the whole thing about how
we didn't see him having it earlier in his proper emo phase when that should have been perfectly appropriate. Very
when he was with the hoodies and and all that kind of stuff. And it's the whole thing with asking, Bill, I'm going to become a woman soon. Any tips or secondhand bras? Which was just like fucking funny. And things like that. There's a lot of groundwork being laid here for the next series of Doctor Who. And obviously they'd have known internally that Jodie Whittaker was on board and Jodie Whittaker was going to be the next Doctor. But I don't think we appreciate how much work this story does towards bedding that idea in, with the bulk of the Doctor Who fan base, not the angsty little fanboys who were going on Twitter with the hashtag not my doctor shite. But I was quite admirable of this story and admiring this story about how it did this and how it went ahead with that.
I think it was kind of to be expected because there'd been a lot more serious talk about it in recent years. And I do think like Missy was them testing the waters a bit with it to see what fan reaction and general reaction from like the casual audience would be like. So I don't think it was sort of too much of a shock to, and it's sort of, I think even at the time, like watching it, is thinking, are they actually are they teasing? Are they going to follow through with this? Either way, fine.
Yeah, and they definitely did follow through. I mean, if you say I'm talking about testing the waters, then obviously, as I said, I don't remember there being any fuss about that whole master change whatsoever. And then suddenly the absolute firestorm comes up whenever, when Jodie Whittaker got announced.
I think there's less of a fuss because you've got somebody who plays batshit crazy as well as Michelle Gomez.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if the Master had just been John Sim in this, and for argument's sake, we'd never had Michelle Gomez as Missy, but she was the next Doctor, it probably still would have been all these people kicking off about it.
Oh yeah, right, but
yeah, I don't know to what extent even what the people who were going to kick off were going to kick off whatever preparation was done, probably. But this, nevertheless, it just teased things up nicely on that front.
And I think for the people that did kick off, having a woman as the main villain is how they live most of their lives anyway.
Well, yeah,
so that's almost a big change for them. Whereas, as you said, making their hero a woman blew their tiny little minds.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to do fantasy stuff, then do the regeneration at the end of this, and Peter Capaldi turns in a Michelle Gomez, and she is the Doctor. And all of a sudden, they can't complain about having her play a Time Lord because she has earlier this season.
Just been a Time
Lord, she's now the Doctor, and she would have been great in that as well. And
I would have loved that.
Added tons of confusion, and people couldn't have complained as much as they did. I mean, they would have, so that's what they do. But
Goth Mary Poppins, yes, please.
Yes.
It's been fine, but we would have missed it in Jodie then. So kind of.
Yeah, sure. No, yeah, I didn't. I thought Jodie was great.
Yes.
But anyway, that would be my point. I didn't anticipate when I revisited this how much groundwork actually lays for a female Doctor.
Yes, you can forget the context, can't you?
Yeah.
No one's going to argue against this, is there?
Not anyone
a very sly finger
misogyny right now. Yeah.
Who's for misogyny? Come on, let's have.
Come on, hooray for the misogyny!
We would ask Hannah her opinion, but she doesn't get to have one.
Maybe on my side, Dave.
We're all turning against each other.
Oh, hush yourself now, woman. It's all right. I'll tell my wife I said that tomorrow, and she will slap me for it. Yeah,
mine's gone to bed long ago. So,
okay. Before this turns into a full-scale brawl, anything else to say on this point, or should we just move on quickly?
Nope. I think I'm done. I'm done.
Right. Okay. All right then. If anybody's got any small points they want to chuck in, anyone at all, or should we go straight to summings up?
I'm done.
Is this the most speechy of Capaldi's stories? Because it feels like in pretty much every second scene he's making yet another big speech. And by the end, I kind of felt a bit washed out on them. Because he's good at it.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. He's good at it, so it doesn't matter.
But that kind of reduces the impact of them if he's doing it every scene.
No, not really.
Right.
We still remember them. We're still good.
Fine then.
That's my contribution to that. They're still memorable. He's very good at them by your own admission. If he was utter shit at them, then yes, it would be a point definitely against the story. But he is genuinely, he can whip up a good speech, can Capaldi, and a rousing serenading of the gathered characters. But so yeah, they're all important to the story. They're all done in the right scenes, and he is good at delivering them.
Just felt like there was a lot of them.
Maybe so, but as I say, if you're gonna have a guy like Capaldi that can do that, you're gonna want to use it.
Yeah, and they're not my favourite parts of the episode, but I think it's all driven along. They're put in the right places, I think.
Defending, Pete. Defending.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a problem. Sometimes it is. I don't think it is with this one.
Yeah, not your favourite part. I mean, that's yeah.
But still, it's right.
The least
Accentuate the positive, hide the negative, Pete. Accentuate the positive, hide the negative.
A fucking tank shouting "dude" at people.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Pete, Hannah, anything you want to chuck in? No.
Scrolling up and down my notes, I think I've leathered it all out. Yeah.
We're all spent. Okay, then let's go to summons up then. Let's go the other way around. Let's start with Cam then. Cam, do you want to give us your summing up as to why World Enough in Time, the Dr. Falls, is not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
Well, Millie Mackenzie was talking to me on Blue Sky yesterday, and she was saying that I've already won the series, so my summing up could be barking like a dog, and I would probably still win. My dog has just left the room, and I was going to time it right so I could get her just like barking, and it would be fun. But in the end, I have to actually go to the effort of making a proper summing up, don't I? So anyway. Well, I was thinking after singing last time round, anything's possible. No, I'll spare you that. So this double part of a finale is not guilty, as it gets so much of the big decisions correct. It's a great Twin Master story. It's a great Cyberman story. It's a great Siege story. It's a great almost regeneration story. No matter what your angle is you take on it, then it still comes away amazing. So it's not guilty for having all those components. That even just, one of those would be good, but all of them together make it great. Not guilty, my lord.
Okay, then. Dave, do you want to give us your summing up as to why World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls is guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
This is nearly 2 hours of time, and it opens with the promise of a regeneration. And we get through this, and all of these characters that we've come to know and love, we've seen these character arcs with them all. Missy spins around like a fidget spinner, betraying everyone every scene, just for fun, and then at the end dies, but we don't see anything else. We get the return of John Sim after he's played a space hobo, overacting, chewing the scenery, comes back in, does very little in the story except say, no, I don't want to take part in this. Then he dies, no regeneration scene. The Doctor gets no regeneration scene at the end. We've got Bill, this new beloved character, who supposedly loses all her emotions, but is exactly the same all the way through, and then gets a really powerful death, which is then taken away and she goes off to be a wet space lesbian. And that's the problem with this. It starts and it's got so much promise and so much potential, but they're throwing so much in for so many of these characters that nobody is truly well served. And at the end, you just feel meh, because it all could have been better for any of them. And it's not, it's just bland, and that's why it's guilty of crimes.
Okay, then. Pete, do you want to counter that with your summing up as to why it's not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who?
One of the highest acclaims I can say of any episode of Doctor Who is it's almost as good as Spare Parts, and I think this is almost as good as Spare Parts, and that's the highest of bars. It's horrifying when it wants to be horrifying. It breaks your heart when it wants to break your heart. It explores a sci-fi notion that we haven't explored before. I mean, it's a big sci-fi notion, and yeah, it's all done in shorthand and, like you say, years in one room and whatnot. But we've only got 2 hours. It crams in so much stuff for a season finale, and it's got difficult external pressures put on it around the scheduling and what had to happen in the next episode. And despite that pressure, it still serves up an amazingly dramatic and moving and exciting finale for a Doctor Who season. And we get, and for me personally, John Sim's master being redeemed in my eyes. Not that I'm that important, but I'm really glad that I ended up thinking he can be a really good master because he's charming. That's the thing. When he's I'll call him Zathras. When he's Razor, because that is what he's been. I mean, that's no thing. Doctor Who borrows characters, although Doctor borrows Dr. Frankenstein multiple times. He when he's doing that, and he's charming Bill, and that's one of the things that the master needs to be able to do. And Missy does it in her own way too. yeah, so that's what I was saying. Nearly as good as Spare Parts, and that's high praise.
Okay, summing up for the defence complete. Only one person left, last but not least, Hannah. Do you want to give us your summing up as to why World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls is guilty of crimes against Doctor Who, please?
Like the Weeping Angels and their victims, the truly great crime of these stories is that they have been robbed of what could have been. I think their style over substance, so many points, and they fail to capitalise on their real potential. The show shies away from demonstrating the worst horror of Bill losing her emotions and sense of self, and dreadfully undermines her conversion in the end, which is a partial conversion, really, as it's not psychological, and with a bloody last-minute get-out clause. I think Missy has an arc, but it comes to an unsatisfying halt, with no long-term impact on her or the Doctor. And worst of all, we're robbed of a regeneration, and that means the 12th Doctor is robbed of a rightly deserved, heroic and decent swan song story. Needless sexualization, contradictory cyber continuity, magicking up solutions, easily defeated Cybermen, and John Sims' accent. All contribute to the heresy that these stories have inflicted upon an unsuspecting and innocent viewership. Ultimately, the ambition of these stories far exceeds their ability to deliver properly satisfying character conclusions. And that is why they are, without a doubt, guilty of the most heinous crimes against our Lord and Saviour, Doctor Who.
Throw away the key. There you go. Those are the summings up. It's all down to you now, the viewers, if you've not already voted. This is coming up to your last chance to do so. We're going to run the poll for another couple of minutes. When the sticker at the bottom of the screen disappears, the poll will be closed. Go to Twitter at the Pollist Box, or click on the link in the episode description. This video you're watching right now will take you to the poll. Cast your vote. Decide whether it's guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. We'll have the results when we come back, just before we go to a quick break where we count up the votes. Dan Hollingsworth says, I find myself agreeing with everyone and I can't stand the confusion in my mind.
Beautiful.
Gareth, beautiful.
Paying tribute to a story that does grimness properly.
That should have been a point for the prosecution. Not enough Sayward.
Not enough Eric Sayward.
But before we go to the break, Gareth Bowley leaves us with this to chew on, and it makes me wonder what he's been drinking tonight. Wasn't there a comic strip in The Incredible Hulk Presents with a female Doctor made from the 7th Doctor's DNA?
Would that have been when they were both under Marvel?
First I've heard.
Yeah.
First I've heard of that. Yeah.
You on me? So we will pick apart that horrific image of Sylvester McCoy and Jodie Whittaker spliced together. We'll go to a break. We will be back in a few minutes. When we do come back, we will have the results of whether the World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls are guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. We'll see you very shortly with the results. And we're back. That is it. The poll has closed. The votes are in. The jury have reached their verdict. It is time to find out whether World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls is guilty or not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Here is how you, the viewers, have voted. It's a belter of a win for the defence, 89% to 11%, world enough in time, and the Doctor Falls is not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. It goes down to our official, unofficial canon and lives to fight another day. Cam, Pete, you must be absolutely delighted.
Entirely due to us.
I think what we've learnt tonight, if nothing else, is that child soldiers are perfectly fine.
That's actually the heart of Doctor Who. Teach children
That's
how
the
to
heart of
blow
Doctor Who.
those evil monsters to pieces.
Teach children that violence is indeed the fucking answer to everything. And it's fun.
Give a
Trap
child
them
an
with
apple-based grenade and we will make that
Yep.
child a person.
Yep.
That's the more we can
Grenades for every school child. That's what we're going to start a campaign now.
Yeah. And nobody gives a shit about the blue guy on the bridge who actually shot Bill in the first place, who just disappears halfway through it.
Yeah, he just goes.
I kept quiet about that one. I nearly blurted it out at one point, but I managed to stop myself.
If it's good enough for the black spot, it's good enough for this story. Dave, Hannah, a bit of a crushing defeat there, but you know, anything you want to say to our viewers that we can broadcast?
People like
Doctor Who
sexual
fans like it.
jokes, child soldiers, and easily pleased with fan wank. Yeah,
that's our audience.
Yeah, fan wank with a really soft, happy ending after 2 hours of teasing.
not even a happy ending. Like, what sort of sexually perverted weirdos have we got watching this?
Yeah,
I don't think we've got enough time
Oh,
to
yeah.
go through all of them. We can sum them up.
You've got to enjoy disappointment. That's the point.
Of course, they enjoy disappointment. They watch the Polis box.
I like the misery.
Maybe I like the misery. So there we go. World enough in time, and the Doctor Falls is not guilty of crimes against Doctor Who. Hannah, Pete, it's been a delight and a joy to have you both on.
Yes.
Hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for
Thanks,
having
it's been fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like people being wrong.
While we've got you here, do you want to plug anything you're both involved with that the viewers might not necessarily know about?
Do listen out for Maximum Power, our final series of the Blake 7 Reviews podcast. We're embarking on Series D of Blake 7, just as everyone else is watching Series A on Blu-ray. And releasing, it would have suited us much better if they'd started with the last series first for the Blu-rays. That's coming out later in December.
I'm gate crashing one of those episodes. You can also find
Cyberman blasting up through the floor.
You can find me actually talking about other Cyberman stories in the DNA of Philip Hinchcliffe. The DNA of Doctor Who, Philip Hinchcliffe years. I've got a chapter in that covering Revenge of the Cybermen. And you can find other writing by me on Blake 7, Doctor Who, other old TV at visualmutterings.com.
You can find shooting locations that you mustn't go into.
Yes.
I haven't updated that one yet.
So there you go. Plenty for you to go and check out. I'll stick links in the episode's tweets as this episode goes out in its edited version in a couple of days' time. That is it for this episode. Next time, 3 weeks' time tonight, we're not going to be back in a fortnight, we'll be back in 3 weeks' time on the 12th of December. We have finally, thank God, reached the end of this interminable season. 6
It's
months.
not been that bad.
6 months we've been doing this. 6.
Do you remember the days? Remember the days we recorded this and the sun was shining?
If anything, it's a throwback to last year of the audio version of the Post Box, where it was just constant Moffat episodes. So it's been a nice wee callback at least. But next time, when we come back, 3 weeks tonight, it will be Twice Upon a Time in the company of our special guests, Mark Harrison and Dan Pinn will be joining us for that, for our grand series finale-ish again, because we've got a Christmas special coming as well. We'll tell you more about that next time. In the next episode as well, we get to find out what series of Doctor Who will be in Series 5 of the Post Box Live. Cam will reveal where we're going next. But as it's for tonight. We will see you in 3 weeks' time. Thanks again to Pete and Hannah for joining us. Thanks to you all for watching, sending your viewer evidence and your comments tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you soon for Twice Upon a Time. In the meantime, good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
If you lived in Pigeon Street, here are the people you could meet. Here are the people who would share the sights, the sounds, the air.